Um, we've been speaking about Adam and Eve, and I know where we're going,
Right?
but I have to make a point. I have noticed that, especially Neela, my wife, is more sensitive to the voice of the Holy Spirit than I am. And I've seen it so often in other marriages as well. And it has happened a few times that I move into something, and Neela, it's as if she comes and stands in front of me. Don't. Why? Can't you see? You cannot trust that person. And then often I just keep on walking and find out she was right. So
Yes.
help me with this one. Come on.
Well, look, when we look at the creation, it's quite interesting, the function of a wife, right? And again, Genesis 2 verse 18, listen to what Father says. Unlike God said, it isn't good that a person should be alone. I will make for him a companion suitable for helping him. Okay? This word for suitable helper is ezer kenegdo.
Is it connected?
Ezer kenegdo, all right? Now, what's interesting about that reality is that when we look at the word ezer, I want you to go to Exodus 18 verse 4, and I want you to read it for me there.
And one's name was Eliezer.
Yeah, right.
Eliezer. For the Elohe of my father was my help, and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh.
Right. So when we listen to that word help, it's the word ezer, right? Who's the ezer there?
Eliezer.
Oh, for the Lord of my father was my help. So God was described as the original ezer, right? So if you look at what he's saying about Eve, he says, I want you to function the same way I will function towards you. And this idea gets brought further into the New Testament. Now, I realize that we have, like, New Testament, most scholars believe, all the oldest manuscripts that we have are written in Greek, right? Even though I believe that it was written in Hebrew. But if we take a look at the way the translators of the Septuagint, when they translated the Torah, the first 5 books, into Greek, what word would they use for that help, do you think? It's this word it's called parakletos.
Okay.
All right, in Greek. And this we pop up in John 14, verse 25. It says, now this is Messiah talking. Yeshua says, I've told you these things while I'm still with you, but the counselor, the Ruach HaKodesh, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything that is, and he will remind you of everything I have said to you. So here we see in this word counselor pops up, if memory serves me correctly, is the word parakletos. It pops up again in verse 16. It says, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another comforting counselor like me, the Spirit of truth, to be with you forever. Again, this counselor, this parakletos. Now, if we pull the two together, now God says in the beginning, if we were to back translate it, even though we saw it in the Hebrew that that attribute for Eve is to be an ezer, like God is our help. In the same way, the Holy Spirit. Same word translated, used by the Septuagint writers to go, if you're going to go back to the Greek, the best way we can describe it is parakletos, and that's the same word that they use to help us understand the function of the Holy Spirit to us. So when we look at our wives, it's not just one aspect of, okay, I look to you, and then we go, okay, well, this is now this union, and it helps us understand the bride of Christ and how we function with God. But in the midst of it, our wives then become that parakletos, they become that counselor, they become that ezer. And I suppose this is ultimately one of those hidden truths when we talk about marriage. For your household, it is your job to reflect who in the relationship of creation. Your job to reflect the groom, which is Yeshua, right? And for Taninila's job, it's her job to reflect the bride. And in the midst of that, coming together, we see again that besar echadness that we spoke about, and you alluded to at the cross, when he was pierced at his side. The same way Adam was, when he put into his sleep, it was flesh pulled from his side. When we get to the resurrection point, we see the first person he appears to, being Mary Magdalene,
Is a woman.
is again, and she grabs hold of him. You know, the
And
Greek...
she wouldn't let go.
Right. I mean, some translation, they don't do it justice. They say, don't touch me. But actually, the word is to don't hold on to me.
Yes.
Don't cling to me, because I still have to go to the Father. My job's not yet done. But when we talk about the reunification of the bride and the Messiah, something that we're anticipating the entire time, how God, through all of us, is going to bring that union together back like it should have been in the Garden of Eden.
You know what I find is that Nela, most of her time, she's here under my arm,
Yeah.
protecting my heart.
Right.
And then suddenly she moves up and she stands in front of me, which is so precious.
Yeah.
Because I need that.
Right.
I really need that. Thank you. This is good stuff, man.